I would imagine that almost every wood turner, especially when they're starting out, makes a spinning top. You know the kind, you give them a spin with your finger, and if they're well balanced, they'll spin on the table for a couple of seconds. Today I'm going to show you how to make one with a launcher. The difference is, you can give it a pull with the cord, and that will get it going spinning much faster, and it should spin much longer because of that. I don't have a very well balanced table here, so it's probably going to try to come off. Anyway, stick around. We'll take a look today at how to make one of these. Hope you enjoy this.
I begin by cutting a piece of cherry to a length of 9 inches. Now I will rip this blank to 1 1/2 by 2 inches. I am finding the center of both ends of the blank so I can place it between centers on the lathe. I am drawing lines on all 4 sides that will designate where the holes are drilled for the launcher.
This line is 3/8 of an inch from the end of this blank and represents what will be the end of the yo-yo. This line across here, crossed with this one, marks the center of what will be the larger hole going through. It'll be a 1-inch hole. This line is equidistant from the center as this one is, and that will allow me to make sure that this is centered within the end of the launcher. Same thing on these. This one crossed will be drilled with the 3/8 inch bit.
On the narrow side, I am placing lines 5/16 of an inch from the edge. These lines will be used to line up the tenoning jig. I'm using the tenoning jig to make the cheek cuts. Now with my miter gauge and a stop block, I'm making the shoulder cuts. I should have drilled the holes before cutting the tenon, so now I'm just replacing the lines to do it. I'm drilling a 3/8 inch hole on the narrow side. This is for the stem of the spinning top to fit through.
I'm putting the 2 pieces that I cut off to take up the space underneath here. That way it won't be a lot of chip out when the bit goes through.
The 1-inch hole gives access to the stem of the top to insert the pull cord.
Alright, I've made 2 of them. I've got 4 grandchildren in 2 different families. So unless I mess one up, which wouldn't surprise me all that much, I'll be able to give one to each of those families and all my grandchildren can enjoy them a little bit. I turned off the cameras when I did the sanding. Can't imagine anything much more boring than that. I've sanded it to 400 grit. I'm going to finish it with mineral oil. Just a little too hard to get Minwax wipe on poly or anything into anywhere. Now I'm going to use my thinnest parting tool and cut it off. And then I will soak it in mineral oil. I'll end up with a little bit here to sand on this end. This end I will cut off and sand it as well.
The disc sander makes short work of sanding the ends. After carefully sanding the ends by hand, now I'm just giving it a good soaking in mineral oil. This seems like an awfully large blank to use for the small top that I want to turn, but it's the only thing I had handy, so I'm going to put a tenon on each end, part it in half, and then use half of it to make that spinning top. I'll still get more use out of it later.
My intention is to turn the shaft down to just under 3/8 of an inch, so it will go through the 3/8 inch hole I put on the launcher. To do that, I want to do it before I get down to the 3/8 because it will probably cause some tear out when I drill through. So I'm going to mark the approximate center right there. then drill through it. Just lock the spindle so it doesn't turn. Doing this by eye, I'm not sure just how accurate I'll be. Not too bad actually. And of course there is a little tear out there, so I should be able to turn that away when I turn this down to the 3/8. I'm using a 3/8 inch wrench to check to make sure that I have this just under that. It's good in here, now I just need to take it up to the end. That's pretty good. Just sanding it now should bring it down. I will sand this to the same 800 grit I have here, and then I will use 800 grit sandpaper to apply mineral oil to the whole thing. I have it all sanded now to 800 grit, and now I'm going to try something I haven't done before, but I've seen done by other turners. I'm going to use the 800 grit sandpaper wet with mineral oil and see what this will do. I'm told it does a nice job. And a dry paper towel to take off the excess. I think that looks pretty good. Now I just need to part that off. Instead of parting it off, I'm going to cut it off with the saw, and then I will sand this to the length that I need. It's actually just a little bit too large at the end, but I'm going to cut enough off there that I think it'll be just fine. Yeah, just need to take off about 1/8 of an inch. I've turned a second top, and I've tried doing it differently by doing the stem end first. I find that this was a mistake. I'm going to have a hard time cleaning this up down here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sand this now, the whole thing to 800, then I'll take this off. Once I have this turned off, I'm going to have to try putting this in my pin jaws to sand and finish the end. I'm not sure how good that's going to work out. So the first thing I'll do is sand this, and then I'll come back and we'll take a look at what we've got. I have it sanded to 800 grit now, top and bottom. I'm going to try adding just a little bit of color to this. See what this will do. I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes, and then I'm going to try applying mineral oil over the top of it with 800 grit sandpaper. I might just ruin it, but won't know till I try. See a little color coming off there, so I'm going to have to be careful here. I'll just let that dry for a while. Alright, I must confess I'm a little nervous about this. I am not left-handed, but I'm going to have to try to get in here with my 1/4 inch spindle gouge. It's the smallest thing I have that will fit in here properly, and attempt to part this off here to a point. Where does that nothing ventured, nothing gained statement come from? It's not too bad. I'm going to have to try to finish that up a little bit. I've wrapped a few layers of masking tape around the stem. Hopefully that will keep the pin jaws from damaging the stem. Now I'm going to try sanding this to a nice point. I'm going to have to turn on the dust collector, which means I'll need to mute or nearly mute the sound. So enjoy the music. Well, that doesn't look too bad. Now I guess it's a matter of finding out whether it'll work. Now let's take a look at what you need to do to make this work. There are 3 parts involved. There's the launcher, the spinning top, and a cord. The cord I'm using is from a plumb bob. Works very well. The stem of the spinning top goes through the 3/8 inch hole all the way through the body, and through the 1 inch hole you can see you have access to the 1/8 inch hole. Push the cord through the 1/8 inch hole and push enough so that it doesn't pull back out when you start to turn this. What you want to do is trap that cord at the 1/8 inch hole by overlapping it. Now you just turn all the cord in there and try not to let the cord get down on the bottom. If you do, it's going to want to creep down inside there between the stem and the 3/8 inch hole, and it'll lock it up. That's all there is to it. Now it's just a matter of setting it down and pulling the cord to get it turning. Do not lift up on the launcher until it's turning well. You want to make sure the string's all the way out of there or it's going to trap it. So So that's all there is to it. I hope you enjoy yours. Well, that's it for this tutorial, and now I'm going to ask you for some help. Maybe you can give me some information. I have seen spinning tops with launchers that whistle or hum, and the only thing I know about them is that they have holes in them. I don't know what to do for thickness of the body. This one is solid. This one is quite thin. I've tried different configurations of holes and slots, and I can't get any sound out of them. If you know, please let me know how to do this. Leave a comment, send me a message in the discussions, anything. I'd really like to know how to make this work. So thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe, and I hope you'll make some of these yourself. Maybe you've got some kids or grandkids that would really enjoy them. If you do, send me a picture. I'd like to see what you do. I'm always interested in what other turners are doing. So thanks again for watching. Enjoy your day. Get some time in the shop.